Why hello and welcome back to my channel. So I left it up to voting on the Instagrams and a lot of you, in fact I think like 75% voted on seeing the story about how I got mugged in India. So I went to India back in 2015. I was there for a couple of months. I actually ended up working there on set of The Voice as an assistant director, cause your girl is kinda awesome. And before that I was directing some Bollywood music videos while I was there. This story in particular actually happened when I was in Delhi or New Delhi. So my mom and I were actually living in this hotel. It was called Le Méridien or Le Méridien, Les Miserables, and it is a top-notch hotel. Your girl was living in luxury. It's like a 7-star, whatever the heck's 5, I don't know how. Please note that I was actually in the company of my mother, who has actually lived in New Delhi, and she still let her daughter get mugged. So much for locals being smarter than tourists. So this story happened at straight up 2 AM, which is prime robbing time, am I right? Ironically, my mom and I pretty much always traveled by private car. It's like a little bit more reliable than the auto. For your information, an auto is basically just an automated tricycle with a little tent on top and a seat in the back for people to sit in. So my mom thought it would be a fabulous idea, full of fun and joy, if we decided to take one of these death trap automated tricycles out into the city at 2 AM to withdraw lots of cash. I don't think there could be a more perfect premise for a mugging story. So in front of the hotel, autos aren't even allowed because it's such a fancy schmancy high-class hotel that stanky autos aren't allowed to gas up the place. So we actually consciously walked around all of the wonderfully safe private cars and decided to hop into an auto. This was mistake number 1 out of probably 1,000. So right off the bat, the old guy who was driving the auto was starting to ask us some kind of sus questions like, oh, where are you guys from? What you doing at night? What kind of phone is that? And my mom and I just decided to naively answer his questions because, you know, all these years of living in America has really made her think that everyone's a nice person. First off, that's not true. Americans are really rude, myself included. And we kind of just shook it off. It was definitely more conversation than any auto guy should ever be making with you. It's just a confused old man, haha. So here's where mistake number 2 comes in. We actually went to this phone shop because my mom actually had to get a new SIM card. We actually went to like this hut looking thing where they literally take a photocopy of your passport and then give you a SIM card that works in that specific region of India. That was our very first stop. We actually explained to this auto guy that we have a variety of errands to run, and at this point we like genuinely were not suspicious. We knew that he was talking a lot more than usual, but again, old people do that. Plus, like, what can an old guy do? So our stupid naive selves bought the SIM cards and were actually putting them into our phones while the auto guy was driving to spot number 2 in our errands list, which was the bank, where we had to actually withdraw a very vast sum of Indian rupees. So we actually ended up driving around a lot in the city, and it was generally isolated. Besides that one ironically still open SIM card shop, my mom actually ended up getting out of the auto and keeping me in the auto because she thought that it would be like a really quick run to the ATM, and the guy actually turns around and starts asking me what kind of phone it is. I started answering his questions, like honestly. I was like, oh, this is a Samsung Galaxy. Anyway, my mom came back. That was her first try at an ATM. We ended up having 3 tries throughout the night. On our way to the second ATM, and this is our 3rd mistake or 4th, I don't remember. When we were trying to make our way to the next ATM, the guy would start to make shortcuts, or as he was calling them, through like really weird dark alleyways. And at one point, one of the dark alleyways had a variety of homeless people in them. Not that I'm scared of homeless people, but also I am. At which point my mom kind of raised a little bit of suspicion from 0% suspicious to a whole 1.5% suspicious, and was like, are you lost? Do you not know the way? And the guy was just playing it off like, I thought this was a shortcut, but if you don't want to take the shortcut, we can go the long way. And we were like, yeah, let's go go the well-lit long way without any homeless people that can easily just put their hand in the auto. Here's where it gets really sus. So on ATM number 2, which was also closed by the way, my mom actually got out and she was a little bit further from the road this time, and the guy actually physically started to drive the auto while I was in it. I actually do remember pretty distinctly asking him why he's moving forward, and he just told me that he wanted to get closer to my mom so that she could walk back easier. Anyway, again, not suspicious because clearly all old men in India that drive autos at 2 a.m. are totally reliable people. I guess I disappeared out of my mom's line of sight and she got really frazzled, and she actually told me that she freaked out for a second because she thought that the guy had kidnapped me. And despite hearing the words kidnap, I was still like, no, we're fine. This is why people in India make fun of Americans, because we're really stupid. Like, confirmed. Really stupid. The story gets even worse. So that was 2 ATMs that my mom had officially visited that were totally closed, and so I resorted to opening up my phone in the auto despite my mom telling me hundreds of times never to walk with your phone very openly anywhere in India because it will in fact get snatched. However, suspicious act number 4 of this guy, 5'6", I don't know, he was just sus. Let's just call it a billion. The billionth suspicious act of this guy was that he actually pointed to an ATM across the street and told us to use that one instead, and my mom, again, decided to agree with the guy. She actually got off the auto and went all the way down the street, and I was still in the back of the auto by myself. This is where the grand scheme happens. The auto has like an open window, so there's no glass or anything. Like, you could totally stick your arm out if you wanted to. Or in this case, someone could stick their arm in. As I was sitting in there looking up on Google where the nearest ATM would be that would be open at 2 damn a.m. in the morning, I basically just very rapidly, within like what felt like half a second, saw these 2 guys in a helmet. I remember one helmet was red and one was white. They just reached in, and before I even had the time to look at them properly, they reached over to my hand and they yanked it really damn hard to the point that part of my nail actually came off when it was actually bleeding. And I was just shook. And before I know it, they had successfully caused me to completely let go of my phone. And then after a whole 0.5 seconds of me just staring at them like, I'd finally just processed what damn tarnation just happened, and I screamed for my mama. And my mom like literally flipped out because she thought that I had been shot, shanked, kidnapped, gouged in the eyeball. And then before you know it, there's like a collection of like 15 guys there, and I don't even know where they came from because to my knowledge this whole place was like literally desolate. And they were like, man, what happened? And I was like, those bitches stole my phone. I literally yelled at the auto guy to flippin' hurry the heck up and speed after them because they were going so damn slow on their stupid motorcycle moped looking thing that we could have caught them easily. He started up his stupid little auto real slow and casual, and as the thieves turned this way, he went straight forward. And my mom and I at this point were like, what the flying shit are you doing, buddy? They just went that way. And he was like, no, I didn't see them go that way. Are you stupid? I straight up thought that my hand was broken because I saw it bleeding, and at this point I really couldn't tell if the pain was from like half of my damn nail being missing, or I didn't know if they had just twisted my hand so far back that, I don't know, like maybe it broke or something. So we made the guy pull over and we kept trying to ask this guy, what the heck is the emergency number in India? Like, I can't believe we trusted this guy this whole time when he had been the main setup. So the police came, they asked us what happened, they clearly weren't really taking it that seriously. The police actually dragged the guy out of the auto and they were like, if we find out that you had any hand in this, we're gonna beat you up. And the threats kind of went over the guy's head because, let's be real, if he's a real crook, he probably wasn't even the owner of that auto, and therefore there was no way for the police to have tracked him because, you know, names and phone numbers and addresses don't mean anything in India. So the police actually took down his auto number and whatnot and asked us to come to the station. The police officers like straight up didn't give a flying shiza. If anything, the male officers seemed to be more interested in the fact that multiple gorgeous females had just arrived in their police station at 2 freaking a.m. in the morning. And now it's probably like 2:30 in the morning. And my mom actually tells me that a lot of the police people are actually given a cut from the robbers' thievery, which was probably the case here considering that they tried to convince me not to file a complaint. And when I said no, I will file a complaint, they actually told me to write it down as an item that I lost, not one that got stolen. Also, I tried pretty hard to explain to them that these guys had also physically hurt me, like they had chopped off half of my damn nail, which was bleeding everywhere. And very obviously over here in the States, something like that would have been considered robbery and assault and this and that. But over in stank India, it's just commonly referred to as a snatching. That's not even a legal term. Apparently it's like super common, and they pretty much gave me no hope that I'd ever get my actual device back. And since India has a really crap network and not even the nice hotel's Wi-Fi was working, I was totally unable to back up any of my photos. And to make matters 1,000 times worse, and I'm sorry, this is where the video gets really dark, my 1.5-year-old cousin named Pahel actually died about a year or so after the India trip, and I actually had dozens and dozens and dozens of photos and videos of me and her playing together, and I'm sure those videos are absolutely and completely priceless to her parents, and they're very priceless to me because those were the only memories I ever had of her. That was the first time I'd ever met her. Now she doesn't exist in this world anymore, and you know, I don't really care about the phone, but those memories, I'm like never gonna get those back. My mom had some, but she didn't have all, and it did teach me a very, very harsh version of the lesson that you should always save and back up absolutely everything. Anyway, I can't really linger on the topic of my cousin who passed because that's not really my story to tell. So we ended up leaving the police station after filing a proper complaint, despite the police officers trying very hard to discourage me from actually filing a proper complaint. There were like 10 different opportunities for my mom and I to actually realize that this guy is acting totally out of line and that we shouldn't have continued this stupid auto ride. And like, for what damn purpose? Just to get the experience of sitting in an auto? After that day, I was really paranoid, because then I started looking up and hearing from my aunts and cousins stories of how their purses get slashed from beneath. Apparently thieves in India actually will cut out a woman's gold earring. They like straight up don't care if they hurt you in the process. Like, there's women who have had their throats slit because some idiot robber in India wants her stupid gold chain. I also ended up not having a phone for like 2 weeks, so at least now I know that I'm not addicted to my phone. Though I did get the urge to ghost photo all the time. Basically anytime I saw something cool, my hands would go up like this and I'd be like, there's no phone here. All in all, it kind of sucked, and I was very scared, and for like a solid second I thought that they like broke my arm or something. So the lesson from this story is, don't take crappy transportation with crappy sus old men in a weird foreign country. That is it. That is how my stupidity went up by like 7,000 and I got mugged, and the police did not even bother to help me or give a damn otherwise. India is basically the Wild West. I do hope that you like this story time, and I have a bunch more where these came from, so stay tuned for next week's video. See you guys!